All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast, where we talk about leadership from the men who have served or are currently serving as Worshipful Master of a regular lodge of Free and Accepted Masons. I am Brother Matthew Wagstaff, a proud past master of Eureka Lodge number 36 in Rochester, New York. We're currently serving as our Worshipful Master is Brother Jermaine Myers, and I have the pleasure of serving with.
I am Past Master Mark Alexander of Sons of Kings Lodge number 123 out of Brooklyn, New York, where our guest, Worship Master Fitzgerald Boyce II, currently sits in an Oriental chair.
Absolutely. We both hail from the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. We're currently serving as our Grand Master is most worshipful Reverend Dr. Darren M. Morton. And so we appreciate you all being here. Please like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate all the positive feedback and all of the love that's been shared for the show thus far. And so we encourage you to share this with other folks and to continue to like and subscribe to the channel. And so before we get into the introductions of our guests for this day here, we have a quick disclaimer.
The information shared on our show is intended for education and entertainment purposes. The views and opinions expressed do not represent any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge. It's important that you do your own research and consult the proper office in your prospective jurisdiction for any
All right.
questions.
That's absolutely. So we have today the man that Past Master Alexander has been mentioning on many occasions in our show, Worshipful Master Fitzgerald Boyce II is on the show with us today. Worshipful Master Boyce is the Worshipful Master of Sons of Kings Lodge number 123. He previously served as Worshipful Master in 2012 and now in 2024. He's also a past worthy patron of Mount Zion Chapter, Order Eastern Star. He holds the title of District Deputy Grand Lecturer and District Deputy Grand Master Emeritus. He has also been the illustrious potentate for Abu Bakr Temple number 91, Ancient Accepted Order of the Nobles of Mystic Shrine, and he has also received the 33rd and last degree in the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite, as well as many other titles, but we will leave it at that point right now. So with that, welcome, Worshipful Master, to the Masterful Conversations podcast. We appreciate you being here.
Marsh.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've seen a few of them, and it's a good thing that you brothers are doing.
Thank you. Pleasure to have you on board, and would love to want to hear your story about leadership and your journey into the East. So let's just get it started right there. So being the Worshipful Master now, but also as technically a past master also that you served 12 years ago in the East. Would love to hear about your journey into the East the first time. So let's take a step back in memory lane a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about your journey to the East that first time, the size of the lodge at that time, and then some of the areas of focus that you had.
Okay. You want my whole story, or you want my journey to the East?
Just give us the journey to the East first.
Okay. So at the time, Sons of Kings was approximately, when I got on the line, it was approximately 8 years old, 2008, thereabouts, 2009. It was a mid-sized lodge. I think we had maybe about 30, 35 members. And I got on the line as junior warden. I was elected junior warden. I'm not mistaken, I served in 2009 to 2010 as junior warden, 2011 as senior warden, and 2012 as Worshipful Master. Some of the areas, so the lodge was, so the lodge being a relatively new lodge, just being chartered in 2004, we had a lot of energy. Most of the brothers were probably around the same age. I would say anywhere between 35 and maybe 40. So it was a very energetic lodge, a very progressive lodge, coming from another jurisdiction. The brothers were very staunch on being good ritualistically, and they kind of had a chip on their shoulder with regards to proving themselves, which I appreciated. Um, and we were willing to try new things because we didn't have the old past masters in the corner to say you can't do this, you can't do that. So we had some failures, we had some successes, but overall we were one of the more innovative lodges at the time, from what I remember. I think we were one of the first lodges to actually have a logo, like the logo that you see behind me. We were one of the first lodges to actually brand our lodge in this manner. Um, we were very innovative at that time. So it was just a pleasure to be with like-minded young men. At the time, I was a young man. That was 12 years ago. Yeah, I was a younger man, or young man, 12 years ago with progressive ideas, and it was good to be amongst a group of men who were good with change, because we really didn't have. We were still growing or still building at that point, so we could afford to change. There was no 100 years of tradition that we were breaking. It would be 6 or 7 years of tradition. So it made it a lot easier to actually maneuver and move and make improvements and make corrections or additions to the lodge. So I definitely appreciated that.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. So, with it being a new lodge and you had been in the craft, I think I saw you were raised in 2002.
Yes.
So you had a little bit of time in the craft as well. When did you know that you wanted to be in a leadership role? And then what was that process to get you prepared for the East?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, um, I didn't know that I wanted to be the master. I came in 2002. My father, Fitzgerald Boyce Sr., was a member of African Lodge 459, number 63. He served as Worshipful Master in 1996. So I had been around the craft for a little while. I had no real interest in the craft, but I wanted to actually be amongst men, and we see this on our applications all the time. I want to work with men to help people and make people better, and that's really what I wanted to do. I had a lot of ideas, and I wanted to work with a bigger group of men to get get things moving. So I joined African Lodge in 2002. I was raised in 2002. I was immediately put on the line. So like many brothers, I was drafted onto the line. Would you sit as? And that was during the era, I want to say, social promotion. Basically, you would move around the chairs. So I believe I started as the senior master of ceremonies. And the next year I moved to junior deacon, and then I moved to senior deacon. And then that's when I realized, oh wow, okay, maybe this is something that I would want to do, because I actually had some time and I saw what the master was, how the lodge operated. And I'm like, okay, this might be something that I would be interested in. As far as preparation, I traveled a lot. I mean, I traveled to lodges in first district, second district, fourth district, third district, and just sat around older brothers. The
No, you on mute, Worsh.
Lost your audio for a second there.
advantage. Am I back?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, that's weird. So the benefit of having my dad in the craft is that he was almost he was a key to the gatekeepers.
Mm.
So I had access to some of the older brothers that some younger brothers might not have. My father was also very accomplished in masonry, and he was a serious brother. So they kind of took it as, well, if you're Boyce's son, if you're like him, then you're good. So I had a chance to really sit with some of the older brothers and talk to them and listen, more so listen, and every once in a while give my opinion. So that was cool. That helped me a lot in my preparation, sitting and talking with some of the older brothers, and just really just traveling, seeing how masters run their meetings, seeing how different styles, figuring out who I am and what style of leadership I want to be as a master. So yeah, that to me, that was the biggest thing, the travel and the actual access to some of the more seasoned brothers that would allow me to bounce stuff off of me.
Yeah. And so when you were in African Lodge and you moved to Sons of Kings, talk a little bit about that transition, but then also when you became junior warden, a little bit of was it similar in terms of your preparation in Sons of Kings, in terms of travel and other preparation that you did? So just a little bit about that transition from African Lodge to Sons of Kings and then your preparation as a warden.
Sure. So the funny thing is, I basically Sons and Kings and I are almost twins. I was raised on October 12th of 2002, and the charter members of Sons of Kings came through an occasional lodge on October 26th
26.
of October
Mhm.
26th of 2002. I
Mhm.
had the good fortune to actually be at the occasional, and I had the great fortune to be able to do some of the work there that day. And I noticed that one brother in particular, I knew him. I'm like, I know him. I know. And I couldn't place it. And then maybe 3 days later, I was like, that's Derek. Derek is Derek Pritchard.
Yep.
Derek Pritchard, I went to school with his younger brother. They lived right around the corner from me. So I knew him growing up. So my transition from African Lodge into Sons of Kings was familiar because again, uh, I was there from the start essentially. I wasn't in the lodge, but they were more my age. Like they had the lodge was full of men my age, like interests, similar interests. They were still learning because listen, I just got raised, so we're learning at the same speed. So I was a visitor. I was a frequent visitor to the lodge. Um, so my transition in, most of the brothers knew me. I did work for them. I sat as senior deacon for them in some of their degree work, did some of their dissertations. So they already knew what they were getting. It wasn't like I came in as some sort of interloper intruder. I'm not gonna say I was 100% welcome with open arms by everyone, but the brothers who had been there knew, okay, this brother is a good brother and he's going to help our lodge.
Mhm.
So, and for my preparation of junior warden, again, from travel, I had seen some of the things, seen some of the things that were required of the junior warden. Again, I had been traveling already, so I already felt like I knew what I needed to do. And again, being a new lodge, it was good because I had a chance to kind of take what the previous junior ones had done and add like best practices from other places that I saw, that I traveled to. So that was cool.
Yeah, traveling in foreign countries. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about that. It's a lot we could do with the whole traveling concept. So no, appreciate that. And I'm assuming that it translated into your senior warden year as well. The travel.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, I had built um, strong friendships, at least in the downstate districts. I had friends in the first, friends in the second, friends in the third, and we came through the line together. So we would try to support each other. But again, that started before I got on the line, before I was even a brother. I was traveling well before you're supposed to travel.
Mm.
I was doing it just for the love of masonry and found like-minded brothers at that point as well, brothers who we traveled together and like, oh, I'm running for junior ward. I'm running for junior one too. So, we kind of just linked up and that worked too. My senior warden year, I mean, I kind of knew what I should be doing, um, preparing to be master, starting to try to set my trestle board, even though nothing is promised. And, I know sometimes as past masters, we tell these brothers, oh, what are you trying to do? You think you're going to the East? It's like, no, you need to be prepared because you don't have time to prepare when you're in the East. You need to be prepared a year in advance. So I want to say around this time in 2012, I was working diligently on my trestle board, like reaching out to speakers, trying to set dates and things like that to hit the ground running. So the day I was elected, here's your trestle board, or here's the proposed trestle board, complete. I mean, it was very aggressive, but I was trying to show him I'm ready. Had my closing charge down. Had everything to let the brothers know, let's go. I'm ready, and this is the level that I expect, and it's the level that the lodge expects, and this is the level that we're going to operate at.
Hey, Worship, you mind naming a couple of your contemporaries, the people you said you rode with as you was coming up through the line?
So it's funny because a couple of us are back in the East. Worshipful Master John Robinson, he's one of my contemporaries. Carlos Smith Ramsey from Boyer Lodge #1. Who else? Past Master Ike James from Lewis Hayden Lodge. I was just looking at some of the pictures, trying to think of some of the other past masters. I believe Michael Morris at that time, but he had, from African Lodge was the master in African Lodge at that time. But I mean, I'm trying to think who else. It was, believe it or not, it was a long time ago. So now,
yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble, nothing like that. I just want to get a couple of names out so that people that might recognize them and stuff like that, so they can see the time frame in their head and what's going on at the same time.
Right. Like I said, John, for those of you in New York, John Robinson, y'all know J. Rob. Yeah, we actually served at the same time. And DJ Ike Nice, from Lewis Hayden. See, I say DJ Ike Nice. He's like, oh, I know who that is. Yeah. We all served the same time. Cornerstone. I want to say, I don't want to misplace anybody, but anybody in like from 2009, 2010 to 2012. Yeah, we all were tight.
Understood. We have a classic question that we ask here that deals with leadership. What is your definition of effective leadership?
I feel that effective leadership is the ability to inspire brothers to do the work, to teach as opposed to tell, and to lead. I mean, it sounds stupid using the word lead in there. To provide a vision that to find the consensus of the group and to tailor your vision to run parallel with the vision of the lodge. I find the most effective leaders can take the consensus of the group and kind of get them to agree. I was thinking about this. Excuse me. I was thinking about this. I'm not. I think it's Huckleberry Finn, where it's either Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer, where Tom Sawyer, one of them was charged to paint the fence, and he was able to convince all the other kids in the neighborhood to paint the fence because he made it seem so fun that everybody else want a piece of that fence. So I think, to me, an effective leader is able to do that too. There's a lot of work, and you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. So you have to be able to convince or inspire others to take on some of that work, because it has to get done. It's more than one man's job, more than one man's work. So you need all hands on deck, and it's just a matter of getting them to agree to do the work.
Yeah, I'm curious about when you were master the first year, and even now, some of the areas of your trestle board that you focused on, and how you got the brothers to be inspired to do the work. Were there any challenges that you came across? Because all of us, we come across challenges, and this isn't to put anything on Front Street, but it's more so people can learn through your story about how you set a vision, but also if you had challenges, how you overcame them, but then also any tools that you have in your disposal about how you help to motivate the other brothers.
Real quick before you add, I just want to say, because I happen to just know the numbers, he said he had about 30 something the first time. Now he got about 60 something this time. So he got double the membership that he had last time, but probably about the same people coming out. But I'll let you
exactly. That's one of the problems. That's definitely one of the problems. I guess with regards to the vision, I would say, one, you have to work before you get into the East. You have to start to lay the groundwork for what you plan to do before you get into the East. You can't come in and upset the apple cart, because you're only one member of the lodge. So I always tell brothers to keep that in mind. Like, this is a full apple cart, and everyone doesn't necessarily want to do what you want to do. So you have to kind of read the room and figure out what do they want to do, what do I want to do, and try to find like a happy medium between the two. Because if you come in and say, we're going to do, and this, my first time I learned this, we're going to do this, and this, they're like, really? You're going to have people that are they're not going to listen just because you dictated what you're going to do. So it's more of a matter of making them feel, listening to what they're saying, acknowledging that they're being heard, integrating what their opinions into your plan.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that's probably the best motivating tool. One of the problems I find is trying to fill out the committees, which, that's an age-old problem. Is trying to get more than a committee of one. When we suffer from that a lot, we have lots of committees of one, where there's one brother, and the whole weight is on his shoulders. So what I do now, which I haven't done in the past, is I really do pay attention to what strengths the new brothers are bringing to the lodge, and I try to align them. If they're an educator, hey, would you think you might want to work on this scholarship? Would you like to work in the scholarship committee? Or if they're law enforcement, or if they're a businessman, do you think you might want to work in the finance, work on the budget or things like that? I think a lot of us, we don't want, as you grow older, we don't stray too far from what we know. As much as brothers say that they're coming into Masonry to learn all new stuff, you find that we still go back to the stuff that we're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get the brothers to do the things that they are comfortable with, because I want as much participation as possible, because I'm not, I don't want to burn out my brothers, because like Mark said, even though we're probably about double the size, we probably still have the same core number of people that will come out to participate. But as a bigger lodge, it becomes more work, because I'm just using an arbitrary number. If there was 15 core members, we were doing projects for those 15. Now we're doing those projects for 60 or 70 or 100. So I try to get as much participation, and I'll take participation however I can get it. Meaning, I try not to cajole brothers. I try not to shame brothers into it. We have our lodge has some high profile brothers in the political realm. I try to use them how I can use them. I'm not one of those masters. Well, he don't show up to the meeting. I don't care if he's this, that, and the other. I don't care if he's the mayor of this. I don't care if he's the senator of this. He needs to be at the meeting. It's like, okay, well, let's see how you can maximize your Masonic experience, and how we can, for better use of word, how we can use your luster to help our lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing, trying to figure out how you can glean some of the luster out from members. Yeah, I'm just gonna say the names is the same, because like the mayor of New York City's in our lodge right now. Well, luckily, who really surprised us the biggest, I think, to everybody, who was our senior ward right now, State Senator Kevin Parker. He's like the hardest working Mason there is, and then he's actually a state senator, which is a surprise to most of us, which I'm happy for 100%. So that's definitely a good thing. Just wanted to ask about some of the mentors you had as coming up in the craft. Whether it's before or now, whatever. Some of your mentors, to say some of the names. No sound, Worsh. No sound, Worsh. Don't hear you. Nope, still don't hear you.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Some of my Masonic mentors.
Yes.
Yep.
So one of my biggest Masonic mentors was past Grandmaster Daniel Simmons.
He just freeze.
Yep.
Let's see how fast he comes back. Well, while he's still frozen, hopefully it frees up in a second. I said that particularly because well, my worship master is one of my Masonic mentors, definitely, along with the other brother that he mentioned. He grew up with Derek Pritchett, our first worship master of the lodge. Those two brothers definitely was I looked to help guide me during my time in the East, you know. I definitely appreciate them for that. I wasn't there to see them as both of them, of course. I wasn't there to see them both as worse, but just the input they put into the lodge as past masters and the things they stressed that helped me to know what direction I have when I was worship master. So that was very important. You're back now, worship.
I'm sorry, I'm back. Yeah, I had to
Yeah,
change.
no problem. I'm just giving you your props while you was going. That's all.
See, I wish I'd have heard it though. That's okay. Um, so one of my biggest Masonic mentors was past Grandmaster Daniel W. Simmons. He was I'll say I'm not gonna use he was a Mason's Mason. He knew the work and he was willing to teach. I think that's important. He was willing to show brothers how to do the work and encourage them to do the work. So he definitely was a big one. My dad was one of my mentors, of course. I never got a chance to sit with him while he was master, but you know, he would critique how I was doing, what I was doing throughout the time. So he helped a lot. I had the opportunity to sit around a lot, like I said, a lot of the old heads. Um, Off the top of my head, I really can't think of that. I mean, there's lots of names. I had a chance to sit with like Rudy Gaynor. I had a chance to sit with Luther Wright. I had a chance to sit with a lot of the pillars of the Second Masonic District in different houses, in different as different heads of organization houses. So I had a chance to really sit and watch how it was done back in the day and try to tailor it to what I felt was more modern or contemporary type of masonry.
Great to capture those names. We certainly want to keep them lifted and keep them in the front of our minds as we go forward for sure. Let's transition a little bit to another question. Another fun question that we like to ask is, when you became a past master for the first time, tell us a little bit about how your leadership style may have shifted or stayed the same in your lodge when you came out of the chair and needed to support worshipful masters that came behind you. And then I'd have a follow-up question now that you are back in the East the second time related to this. But tell us a little bit about your leadership style as a past master.
As a past master, I try to be more like the true pillar of wisdom. I don't force. I try not to force, or I tried not to force my opinion on the master. I would allow them. I would tell them how I did it, and I said, well, this is how I did it. But I wasn't one of those. In my administration, we did this, 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 and this, and you need to do this, 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 and this. I would try to gently correct them if they needed correction, or I tried to support them as much as possible. I tried to give them as much information. I wasn't one to leave a past master in the dark, which you find sometimes the past masters sit there and wait for you to fail. I wasn't a past master that, I'm not going to sit and wait for you to fail because this is my lodge. If the lodge is failing, it doesn't matter who the master is. Your lodge is a failure. So I've always, the one thing I guess I have stressed throughout was continue to build the legacy of the lodge. Continue to build the legacy of the lodge. That's what's important. So regardless of who the master is, the lodge still has to be successful.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's the biggest thing I've stressed as a past master. It's not even about me, it's about the lodge. Let's keep this lodge to the high standard. You know, I brought it here. I'm not a past master that wants the lodge to go down because I'm not in the chair. I want the lodge to continue to go up because it looks even better. You know, yeah, I was master. You see this lodge over here? Yeah, I was master then too. So yeah, that's for me, that's always been a thing, to continue to elevate the lodge when, you know, even with me not being in the chair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
definitely.
you and past master Alexander working in tandem the last couple of years, Sons of King has been elevated by the Grand Lodge with accolades and recognition. So kudos to both of you men for the work that you put in as Sons of Kings. Well, my brother Mark was worshipful master and you were past master at that time. And then to your point about, you know, the lodge, if they need some help or they just need somebody to step up, being willing to step up, kudos to you for taking on that charge again to be worshipful master. We know that it's a very time consuming and demanding role. So kudos to you for being able and being available to do that. I'm curious now, now that you're back in the seat, things that you have tried to implement, or how has your leadership style may have changed from your first administration to this administration?
Well, I feel I'm not as forceful. The first time I was a real ex officio. You know, a lot of times we all know the master is the ex officio. For those, well, all of us should know, but for those who don't, ex officio, you are privy to sit in every committee meeting. The first time I was a real ex officio. I was at every committee meeting. I was, you know, my opinion was in every decision. And this time I'm more of a hands over. I've learned to trust the brothers, or to expect the brothers to do well. It's I guess that's also trust. I mean, I give it to you. The reason I put you there is because I know that you can do the work. If you need help or you need advice, I can give it to you. But this is your baby. I don't want to be in charge. You know, I have a bigger charge. Being in, you know, running the lodge is a much bigger charge than running any committee. So I want you to run your committee the way you see fit, as long as you get the results that the lodge needs.
Yeah, excellent. 100%. And I just want to add to what Matt said as far as being ability to be worship master. Just to say that because before last year, because when I was worship master, well, Fitz wasn't my district deputy grand master, but he was one of the district deputy grand masters in the second district. So he had to give that up in order to be worship master. At the same time, when it comes to, again, like he was saying, as of course in the lodge, they're all past masters, him, Derek, or whatever. So they would always give advice if needed. Like he said, we are lucky in our lodge that none of our past masters really try to forcefully give their opinion or anything like that. They if you need them, they're there, and they will help out any way you can. If you get stuck, you turn to them or something like that. So that's the blessing that we have within our lodge particular. Um, that hopefully other lodges can get to that point, and the point of trusting the master to be the master and allowing him to be the master that he needs to be. That's one particular reason that, like, I could say within our lodge, we don't have like a past masters council, because we wasn't trying to dominate the worship master. You know, we always talk and stuff like that, but we didn't want to dominate the worship master, act like it's something that's trying to run the lodge. We know some places is the past master council is run properly, where they are just mainly like a sense of pillar and help move the lodge in a certain way. But right now, we felt there wasn't a chance time to do anything like that. As we continue to build, and like, well, he said it. I would say he said it a nice way, as far as you continue to build the legacy of the lodge, as far as what he expected the brothers from the brothers. But the way he always words it to us is, we can't sit, we can't sit on their laurels. You know what I mean?
Right.
The stuff that they did, we have to, continue to make it bigger and continue to strive on that. And I can say for myself, I feel the same way as Fitz, of course. I actually was telling I was senior deacon at Trevor McLeod the other day when I was on the phone with him. I expect him to be a better master than I was. You know what I mean? And that's what we expect,
Mm-hmm.
everybody to continue to get better. So that's what the biggest part of the lodge. So Worsh, what's some of the most proudest moments you had in the East, or just as a Mason?
Well, I guess my most memorable would be receiving my 33rd in Rochester, because I actually received my 33rd with my father. We both received our 33rd at the same time. That was cool. You know, Masonry afforded me an opportunity to build that relationship with my dad, a different relationship with my father. He was a brother, and he always treated me as a brother. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like dad and son. It was like, yo, you make your path, and you know, we can travel together. Like, we travel together. So when we received our 33rds together, that was cool. That was one of the high points. I guess another high point was actually being elected master the first time, because it wasn't the end of the journey. It wasn't even close to the end of the journey, but it was just an acknowledgement that a group of brothers trusted me enough to lead them. You know, because a lot of times there's certainly a trust factor, or a certain I'm not even gonna say approval factor, but yeah, I am gonna say approval factor, because it should be, at least in my estimation, that when we elect you master, that's our stamp of approval. Like, this man is qualified to lead us. We will follow this man, and I think that's why we tend to let our master do his job, because we've elected you to be master. You know, I served as master. If I wanted to run the lodge again, I would be the master. So you know, I've always felt like when I was elected in 2012, I felt, wow, this is cool. You know, y'all really, you know, Mama made it. Y'all trust me, and y'all trust me to run your lodge. You know, I'm driving the bus now. And then one of the other I guess the other highlights was I had the opportunity to do degree work in multiple occasional Grand Lodges. One that's really memorable was I did some degree work at the chartering of Solomon Wallace, and I think we were in Syracuse at that time.
Yeah, Syracuse. Yeah.
Yeah, we hopped on the bus at like 4 o'clock in the morning, or overnight, and got there. I was groggy. And then they handed me the gavel. I think Dorian Glover was the Grand Master, and Solomon Wallace was still alive at that point. And I specifically remember when they handed the gavel, and I sounded the gavel and started the degree work. I could hear Solomon Wallace like, "This is better already." That's cool, you know. And of course, was 2 years ago when our lodge was named Lodge of the Year. That was, to me, that was it. Like, yo, I knew it was just nice to be recognized. I mean, I always felt our lodge was doing exceptional work, but to actually be Lodge of the Year was a great feeling. You know, like, it doesn't, to me, it don't matter who the master is. The fact that I'm a member of the Lodge of the Year means that lodge is doing what the Grand Master wants the other lodges to do. So that definitely will always be one of my highlights.
Fantastic, fantastic. I gotta ask this question too. I like to ask this a lot of the brothers. We we know that the master is a demanding job, and I just gotta continue to stress like the amount of energy and time that it takes to be a master. If you're gonna do it, as I would say, do it the right way. You know, there's a lot of ways of being a master. But you talked about you traveled a lot. I can imagine as master, you probably carried on that same or similar habit of traveling and staying connected to your counterparts in other spaces. Can you just give us a little bit of an indication of how much time, like per week, you were spending as worshipful master working in masonry? You talked about you were super ex officio, like you were at all the committee meetings, you were doing all these things. For the senior deacon right now that's thinking about being a warden and trying to figure out the time commitment, or the senior wardens that are watching right now, or junior warden is watching right now, and it's saying, hey, how much time is it really going to take for me, or from me, or I'm going to need to dedicate as the master? Give us a little sense of that, your time there.
Whew. Wow, that's a good question. Now I'm actually sitting thinking about it.
Estimate, yeah.
I would say at least an hour or two a day. So what's that? Maybe 14 hours a week. I mean, it might not be every day, but you might have one day where you're doing 3 hours of work, another day, I'm also counting work, meaning like traveling. So you might be going to another lodge, making a visitation. You might have a committee meeting. You might be doing a study class, or you might be doing a rehearsal for the degree. So I would say on average, say 10 to 14 hours a week, which is a lot. It's a lot. That's a part-time job. Essentially, being master is a part-time job. So for all of you who if you can't devote at least 10 hours a week, you should consider whether or not you're ready to sit in the chair, because and you're basically working like a fireman, because you never know when you're going to get a call. We've been blessed as our lodge, being that we don't have older members, we've been blessed that we haven't received those calls from families stating that one of our brothers has passed, which brothers don't think about either. That's something to consider. But we have younger brothers, and emergencies still come up. And as the master, whether you are actually there or not, you're still required to attend to it. So I can't even say you can schedule blocks of time, but as master, stuff comes up and you have to attend to it. So you got to think of it like you're a fireman. You have a shift. There's going to be times where you're sitting doing nothing, and there's going to be times where you got to strap up and go attend to things. So
absolutely. One of the things that I always try to remind brothers of is, hey, you chose to be interested, I would say, in this role, in this leadership position. And so when I get wardens and masters who want to take on leadership roles, but honestly do not have the time to be able to dedicate to it. They have demanding jobs, their families are very busy, they may have young kids. I'm like, it's okay that you're not Worshipful Master this year. Like, it's okay. We will figure this out. It drives me a little up a wall when people sign up for leadership roles and spaces and don't give it enough time, or don't give it the time that it needs. And you can see it by the way in which they perform their work, and some of the confusion, or just some of the gaps that are left because they just don't have the time to dedicate to it. And then I'm also very happy when I do see Worshipful Masters who you can see they're actually putting the time in. Like it's evident when a Worshipful Master is actually dedicating the time and has laid the groundwork with their family, and they laid out what their schedules are going to be like at work, so that they can make the accommodation. So thank you for being honest about that time allocation, being real with that. Whoever's listening to this right now, understand it takes time. It's going to take your time. It's going to take your money. It's going to take your energy and your talent. You just don't get the title. You get the title, but it shows if you actually are really trying to be a leader with that title. And there's a difference between being Worshipful Master and a leader.
right.
There's a difference.
If you're doing the name, if you really
Yes.
earned the name, the worshipful, that's the big difference.
Sure.
True. I mean,
Sure.
there's a difference between you wanting to be the Worshipful Master and wanting to be a past master. Because there's lots
That
of
part.
brothers
Yes.
they're like, they don't want. I can tell, like, oh, you want to be a past master. You don't want to be Worshipful Master. This year is a little road bump, a little bump, a little rope, a little
Yeah.
gravelly road to what you ultimately want to be. You want to sit in the other corner. My thing, I've always felt the brothers like, listen, if you build your legacy as the master, you don't have to talk about it, because other people will tell, like, when he was master, he did this, 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 and this. And I found that most of the masters who talk about the most that they did during their administration actually did the least.
And at the end of the day, like our ancient grandmaster Solomon, King Solomon say, it's all vanity at the end of the day. It's worthless. It don't even matter. All the work that we put in, it don't even matter. I want to put up something that
Oh, you got it? Okay.
that past Master Alexander shared, and I'm gonna hopefully I get this right here.
There it is.
Yep. That's my rap cover. That's me and my pops rap. That's our rap album.
Yes. So this is before the beard. So I wouldn't even recognize you. I would not even have recognized you because I've only seen you Worshipful Master with a beard. So I wouldn't even know who you were at this day.
Yeah, I think that's about 5 years before I started growing the beard. I think I started growing the beard when my daughter started high school. So that was, I think, 2014. Yeah. So yeah, it was about 5 years before the beard came.
Nice. And I know those stairs. That's the Riverside Convention Center in Rochester. Yes, I know those stairs.
Yep.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So thank you, Paz Alexander, for that. Appreciate
No
you for that.
problem. Yeah, I had to definitely get that up for Fitzgerald Boyce Sr. I had to make sure I put that up.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. So we normally would ask a question about, like, what would you do if you went back into the chair? Well, you are back in the chair.
Back in the chair.
But I do want to talk a little about like the leadership style now. And I know you talked about you are less aggressive, whatever that means. But we'll talk about that. I know you talked about the ex officio space, doing less of that. But in terms of like areas of focus, like things that you're focused on now, and things that you hope leaders coming up in the craft would think about as leaders going in. So we talked about time commitment, but in terms of all the different elements that go into a lodge, the business of the lodge, ritualistic work, charity, widows and orphans, knowing your brothers, fellowship, and all those things, what areas of focus are you dedicated to thinking about now?
I'm more along the lines of administrative, because even the committees that I've chosen to work on, I worked on the Grand Lodge committee on Constitution. I was on the committee to help change some to update the Constitution, make corrections and stuff like that. My focus, I guess, at the lodge level is education. My theme for this year, my theme was fortifying the temple. And at our divine service, I explained what it was, because I don't remember if I actually explained it to the brothers correctly, if I explained it to them at all. I said, fortifying the temple means that, one, I'm acknowledging that there's a good structure already. I'm not trying to tear the lodge to the ground and rebuild it. I'm just trying to fix what I find is lacking, and I'm trying to to edify or to beautify what's already there. It's just what's working already, we're going to tighten that up, and what's lacking, we're going to bring up to where we're comfortable. And I think I really honestly, I think that we're rushing brothers too quickly through the chairs to the chair, because a lot of them get to the chair and they're like deer in headlights. Like, they really don't have a plan. They don't have a plan because they haven't been around long enough to know what works and know what doesn't. There is a certain amount of time that I feel that you should be in the craft, because your first couple of years, you're just trying to develop yourself. So how can you help develop a lodge if you yourself are not a good Mason? You don't understand Masonry. As the master, you should be able to teach every one of your brothers Masonry, if need be. And if you can't do that, then you need to question whether you should be master. If I can't teach Masonry to the brothers, then what am I doing? I also feel like the brothers they're not being as well rounded as they should. I think the master should be a jack of all trades. He's like a utility player. He should be able to teach the lodge on the Constitution. He should be able to teach them on protocol and procedure. He should be able to teach Robert's Rules of Orders. He should be able to teach them the ritual. So you have to know these things. This stuff has to be ingrained in you. There's really, honestly, there's no learning on the job when you're master. You're in the chair, and now it's like you're like a hockey goalie. They're shooting pucks at you. Either you stop them or they go in. So this is strictly reaction time. So it's better for you to hone your skills prior to getting into the chair. That way, when you're there, it's muscle memory. It's more muscle memory. You're doing things because you've done it before. So I would encourage younger brothers coming up to take leadership positions earlier, take committee chairs positions earlier, learn how to chair a committee, learn how to write a report, learn how to write a budget, learn, the things that you're going to need to be, the things that you want when you're a master, you should be able to teach. You should be able to write a report. You should be able to teach a brother how to write a report, a proper report, the things that when you're sitting up in the chair and you're like, yo, this dude gave me, this is garbage. It's like, that's on you, because you should be able to teach that brother that. I feel like that's we're missing a lot of those fine details. And that's one of the things I do notice. I guess, yeah, now I am one of the older brothers. I see that there was a lot more attention to detail when I first came into the craft, throughout. Or the successful lodges paid closer attention to detail, making sure that things were done. But again, there's also a balance. There's a balance, even with regards to running a business meeting and running a lodge meeting. A lot of brothers feel like if they can get the minutes read, do the charity, and get out, that's a good meeting. That's not a good meeting. You just ran a business meeting. You want to make sure that your brothers are informed and they feel like they have something that they've taken from the meeting. I've always made sure that I have some sort of Masonic light at the meeting. If either a guest speaker or myself, I've always made sure that from the East, which is what we write on our notes to the lodge. If it's not something inspirational, it's something educational, where even if it was a long business meeting and we didn't have time for Masonic light, this brother had something that he could read, in his spare times, like, oh, wow, I never knew that. And then he could go research it. So I feel that we're not paying attention. We're not really paying attention to detail. And I think that's where we're failing right now. We're not purposeful in our attention to detail.
Do you think that's systemic in society, or do you think that's masonry? Because we don't got a lot of time, but I'm just curious about that.
Well, I mean,
it might be generational.
It is intergenerational. So I guess, well, Mark is slightly younger than me, but we're basically the same generation. It is a generational thing, because we grew up in my college dorm, my sophomore, junior year. We had the first internet. Literally, we had the internet. That was a thing. Like, oh, you can talk to another college from this computer. We still had 56K modems. So the concept of instantaneous to us was still different. Like, the library was still one of the most active places on the campus. I still remember going to the card, going to the shelves and to do the card catalogs, and to doing a paper, pulling 8, 10, 12 books and looking for a certain quote that I could pull out. But I also remember when Google came about, search engines came about, Bing and all these other search engines that, now you could do things quicker. And I do feel it's also societal, because I feel that, my daughter, her perspective or her outlook is a lot different than mine, because any questions that she had, she can get in 0.2 seconds. She can ask Siri. So a lot of our brothers, the millennials or the Gen Zs, they feel the same way, especially with masonry. Like, if they ask a question, that they should get that answer immediately. I wasn't privy to that. I'll give you the information, but I feel I have to know that you did your due diligence, and then I'll work with you. But I think it is more of a generational thing than a thing of masonry. It's prevalent throughout. It's not just masonry, but in masonry, I'm seeing that That's one of the things that we need to try to get back to.
Definitely. I remember I went to visit a lodge down in DC a few years back, and a brother came back giving his report. They was giving out baskets. So he got the baskets and stuff like that. He gave them out. He's giving a report, and he was asking for money back. So one of the past masters like, "You got a receipt?" He was like, "If you ain't got a receipt, you're gonna eat that." Because and that's the little details we're talking about. Every little, thing. And as Masons, we should pay attention to that, because it kind of goes with our lessons. Because if we build a building sloppily, just to say that way, the whole building gonna fall down. We can't do that. We got to make sure we pay attention to detail. Mixing the cement right or whatever it is, and everything got to be done right for the building to last forever.
Right. I tell the brothers that all the time. I've also served as the dean of instruction for the lodge
For a long time.
For a long time. In fact, a couple of our past masters were part of my first class. So, I always tell brothers, operative masonry, speculative masonry, it's the same thing. Like you said, the cement. If you too much sand or too much water is going to make a difference. So it's very important that we pay attention to detail if we're trying to build something.
Key lesson right there. That's it. Don't let that go over your head. Whoever's listening to this right now, do not let that. That's a key jewel that was just dropped about that. We build it for the long term. Leadership for the long term. Worshipful Master, this has been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I don't know, Past Master Alexander, you got something?
No, I ain't gonna say no. I'll just say name of the show.
Yes.
Leadership for the long term.
Leadership for the long term. That's what I'm talking about. We already got a title for your episode, Worship.
Exactly.
Cool. That's what's up.
Just to, I said, we definitely want to thank you for everything you have done. A couple of that leadership for the long term and all the lessons you gave to us. Especially we have to learn how to inspire our brothers in order to get them to do what they need to do. Teach rather than tell. Even if you didn't dwell into it, but that's very important, that you need to actually be able to teach them to be able to get things done, so they be able to fish on their own and not just be able to learn from you and go after you. And let another important lesson that which you said, as far as let your vision align with that of the lodge, because you can't dictate, as you learn through experience. Exactly. If you just dictate and it's different from what the lodge ain't gonna be 100% right the way you want to be. So you got to get your vision aligned with what the lodge vision and get that going. So Worship Master, thank you a lot for those lessons.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Worshipful Master, you are our third Worshipful Master, sitting Worshipful Master on the show. Technically, you are the second one that's actually we've been able to publish or record, and you're also our second Worshipful Master who's going back into the seat for a second time after being a past master. So, again, thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, thank you for your stories. Definitely learned a lot from you throughout just this short period of time, and definitely looking forward to having you back on the show to talk a little bit more deeply about some of the rest of your story, because I'm sure you have a lot more jewels to share from what you just shared with us. I mean, that leadership, that long-term piece right there, the sand and the mixture of the cement, that's a whole conversation that we need to have about leadership, because that temperance, cardinal virtues, perfect points of our interest. That temperance piece is huge in the leadership space. And so want to definitely dive into that a little bit more. With that being said,
well, Matt, before you wrap up, I know you, and I don't even know if you want to put it out yet, and I'm not going to fully pull it out, but Matt gonna have something that's for the craft soon, so look forward to something that we're gonna unless he's pulling it out right now. No, he is. I guess he is.
I guess I
am exactly.
I got this the prototype came in the mail. The prototype came in the mail shortly. It's called The First Year in the Craft, Excelling as a Newly Raised Master Mason. And so this book is a very short read. It's not a long read at all. It's 36 pages, ironically.
9.
But it's essentially for new. Thank you, Mark, for that. Definitely, it's a book that I would recommend that you give to a brother on the night that he's raised as a Master Mason, as a guide, as a compass to help him through his journey through that first year experience Oftentimes, brother get raised, and then we kind of send them off. We give them this couple of books and just say, hey, figure it out. This book is here just to kind of just give them a little bit more guidance in that space. So appreciate you, my brother, for always having my back and definitely putting that out there for me. So I appreciate that. So with that being said, again, thank you, Worshipful Master Boyce. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Again, add comments. We love to read the comments and hear your thoughts about the episodes as well. Keep it positive, keep it clean, keep it respectful as always. But definitely we appreciate the engagement on the channel. Always remember that the world needs leaders. And leadership begins with leading ourselves. It's impossible for you to lead other people if you cannot lead yourself. So until our next episode, God bless you all and have a great, great rest of your day.